Welcome to your favorite channel where we talk basketball and culture, all while chefing up recipes of your favorite dishes. Welcome to the Concession Stand. It's halftime. Welcome back to the Concession Stand. If you're new here, please make sure you like, comment, hit that subscribe button. Let's get the channel elevated to where we need it to be. Let's get it out there. Share it, tell a friend. Today, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be hitting the grill. Today, we're going to be making an international dish. We're going to be making jerk chicken, and we're going to pair that with some smoky jollof rice. If you don't know what those are, I'm sure you know what jerk chicken is, the Jamaican staple. Also, jollof rice, a West African dish, a great way of making rice in the most spiciest, flavorful way possible. I love it. And I learned this from a good friend of mine, so I'm going to share that recipe, and we're going to get to it today. But today, what we're going to be talking about as far as hoops, was the 90s really the golden era of basketball, or did the game evolve for the worse? What should we do? What do you think? You know, comment down below, what do you think? Were the 90s better, or is today's basketball game better? Or what are the advantages and disadvantages? Today is a more global international game. Are the international players taking over the league? I don't know. Let's talk about it. It's halftime, baby. So at this time, I took all my fresh herbs, put them into my little personal blender. I got onions, scallions, thyme, soy sauce, oyster sauce, cinnamon, garlic, ginger, whole allspice, pimento peppers, nutmeg, salt, all-purpose seasoning, and a few secret ingredients. Man, when you take the lid off of this thing, the smell just smacks you in the face. It's so strong and potent, but it's amazing. Then I add it to a Ziploc bag just to make it lock in a little more. I pour all the seasonings on it and mix it up. Then I add a lager beer to the bag so that all those flavors can marry and get together. All right, so once you season it, let it marinate overnight. This is what you should have. Take them out, lay it in a pan or something to get it grill ready. The smell of this is amazing. All of that jerk, allspice, and all those fresh seasonings up under the skin. You see it's got that nice dark color. So all you gotta do now is just get your grill ready, which we already have the grill getting ready, and throw it on there. Throw it in the indirect heat. Okay, so while the chicken is on the grill doing this thing, what we're gonna do is we're gonna chop the vegetables to put into the jollof rice puree. So first you have to grill these vegetables, and then you're gonna puree it and mix it make sort of a stew in the pot in order for the rice to cook down. So we're gonna start with some bell peppers, some tomatoes, and red onions. So we're just gonna chop these tomatoes up and these red peppers. And while we do that, let's talk some hoops. So, like I said, trying to understand what is the best era of basketball. And I think that that's probably one of the worst things that a hoop fan could do, is try to marginalize basketball to just one period of time. Nobody does or plays a game or a sport or anything for it to stay the same. And I feel like in today's sports coverage, it's being clouded and clogged up with nostalgia. I'm even guilty of it at times. I mean, you got everyone with a microphone holding on to their era of basketball as far as when they grew up, or who or what team or which player was meaningful at that time, to make sure that the younger generation doesn't disrespect it. And I get it. I totally get it. You gotta respect the past And you got to understand the past in order to fully appreciate the future. And me personally, I totally appreciate the past and the future. I'm old enough to have remembered Michael Jordan. I'm old enough to have seen the Kobe Bryants, the LeBron James from start to now. So I know a thing or two a little bit more than the average or casual fan. But with that being said, two things could be the same. You can appreciate the 90s basketball and appreciate where it is today in the 2020s and 2010s. I feel like the 2010s revolutionized basketball way more than anything. Because for the simple fact, also make sure that you take the seeds out of the bell peppers when you chop them up. I'm just gonna chop them and I'm gonna transfer it over here to this grill plate in the meantime. But yeah, 2010s revolutionized basketball because basketball became more global. The foundation was laid in the 90s with, the Jordan, Barkley, David Robinson, that era, Patrick Ewing era, for obvious reasons, the Olajuwon era. We were getting more international as far as players coming into the league, but just the love and appreciation for the game on an international scale, that came with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan revolutionized basketball, not just from a skill standpoint, but from a business standpoint, from a marketable standpoint. Let's remember what the 80s was. The 80s was, a lot of drugs, slower pace, not as flashy, not as pop culture friendly. And here comes Jordan in 1984, a kid that's a guard. Remember, the NBA was big man driven in the 70s and 80s. Comes in as a guard, 6'6", flying through the air, super athletic, has so many qualities and attributes about him that we've never seen before. He had the personality to go with it. And he changed the game. I mean, he led the league in scoring on a multiple occasions. He was an MVP. All of this in the 80s. I think Jordan's first MVP was in 1988 or 1989. Fact check me on that. But Jordan was the first of his kind, and he took the game to another scale. The shoes, revolutionizing Nike, basketball. I mean, before that, what do we have? Converse weapons, Adidas. Like, Nike took off with Michael Jordan. The commercials, I want to be like Mike. Michael Jordan, what he meant to the game it's almost like disrespectful in a way to say that someone is greater than him. And I understand where people from that generation, maybe those in the generation before me, understand and kind of seek refuge in that and get offended when a younger person may mention a Kobe or a LeBron James as the greatest player. Because all the intangibles that go under the Michael Jordan umbrella are much more louder than just court skill. And then on top of it, Jordan kicked ass. He bust ass. I'm gonna say it just like that. Jordan bust everybody ass. And you combine the winning with the business, with the social influence. Notice I did not say with the social engagement, the social influence. There was no social media back then. You combine all those things and it's hard to measure or meet what was done in those days. It's like music, like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson revolutionized pop culture and music in a way that can never be duplicated because he was the first of his kind to do it. And just like anything else, evolution just takes place. We learned how to make cars. We learned how to make planes. Now we got jets. We got Sonic jets. We had Concorde jets. We got cars that can go, 220 miles per hour. Whereas before we started out with cars that could probably go only 30 miles per hour. Everything progresses. So do we start things with the desire for things to be stagnant and not be progressive? No. So that's why I don't really like or subscribe to when people want to downplay this era or the most recent, the 2000s era of basketball, or the 2010s or the 2020s, because this is what Jordan, Barkley, Magic, Isaiah, Bird, this is what they worked for. You know, that's like someone, a civil rights activist, being upset that, you know, a kid today is able to go to college for free along with the other races and say, you know what, in my day, I couldn't even go to school with everyone. But that's why you did the activist work. That's why the work was done, so that the future generation doesn't have to be held or, you know, marginalized. And in Jordan's case, he expanded business and, you know, becoming the entity so that the game can go forward. You know what I'm saying? All right, so here's the vegetables chopped up. So I'm gonna pair this. I'm gonna take some garlic with it as well, and we're gonna season it, add a little. Okay, so I added all the vegetables into a Ziploc, chopped them up. So now to this, I'm going to add a Scotch bonnet pepper, 2 of them, and some garlic. I mean, usually they use like garlic bulbs, but I'm lazy. I'm gonna just put some garlic that's already peeled in here. Add that to it. Then I'm going to add some oil. Then what I do, I'm gonna season my puree vegetables. So to this, I'm gonna add some black pepper, I'm gonna add, if you remember my previous video, some of that peri-peri seasoning with those chilies in there. I'm going to add some herb blend with some allspice, some ginger and oregano. The flavor in this is going to be so high. And then I'm going to add me a little bit of jerk seasoning. Not too much. Some jerk seasoning. Then just going to give that a mix. Let it all get coated. Then I'm gonna lay it out on the grill plate and put it on the grill to smoke and char. Just lay it out. Yep. And we're gonna put this back on the grill so that it can smoke and char. Then, once that's done, we're gonna grind it up. We're going to put it on the shelf over the direct heat while this chicken smokes on the indirect heat side. I'm gonna place the veggies up here and check back on it in about 20 minutes. All right, to go with this now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the crema sauce, the jerk crema sauce. So what I'm gonna add is some cilantro, some allspice berries, and 2 heads of garlic and some ground ginger. Just add that to your blender. Try to scoop it all in. Then you're gonna add some sour cream infused with a little ranch. Then to that, we're gonna add some mayonnaise. About a cup. And we're gonna add that same jerk marinade that we made. Gonna add a little lime juice and some sugar. About 2 tablespoons of sugar. A little all-purpose seasoning, not too much. And a little dried jerk seasoning. And gonna put it in the blender. Just give it a grind on low. This is what it should look like. Smooth, creamy, cilantro, jerk, crema sauce. Put that over the chicken when it's done. All right, so before we build the rice and get that going, we're gonna go back out and we're gonna check on the vegetables that's roasting for the puree, as well as the chicken. I'm gonna add some beer to the chicken, which is also part of the process, to kind of keep that moisture locked in, and the flavor from the wheat and the beer does something remarkable for jerk chicken. So let's go check on the grill. And I'm gonna move the vegetables to direct heat so that it can get a nice char. Check it out. Look how pretty those peppers are. Add some of that beer. Some of that beer to the chicken before we move it over to direct heat and let it smoke a little longer. Let's let these veggies get nice and charred. Another main perception about 90s basketball versus current or modern day basketball is it was more difficult. The game was more physical. The game was, more challenging, and you had to be more skilled in order to beat your opponent, which is to some degree true. In the 80s and 90s, there was no such thing as zone defense. The illegal defense rule changed in, I think, about 2001 or 2002. Before, you had to be with a specific player. So now there's nonstop switches going on the floor, and you got to keep moving, which makes it like a whole cardio event. It makes it a little more difficult in this era, I believe, in my opinion, to play defense and to be effective on that side of the ball. But of course, if you think of it from the other side of the lens, hey, if I'm a guard, like let's use Mr. Jordan for example, let's say Mike. If I'm a guard, you see him go through that with the Pistons. Fouls were harder. They allowed more fouling or fouls to a harder degree, whereas now some of those fouls that were just regular personal fouls back in the 80s and 90s are flagrant fouls now. People used to get clobbered. Jordan was clotheslined multiple times. Like, it was ridiculous how physical the game was. So if you have to impact the game through all that physicality and have the skill to score in a manner that he did, I can see where the argument for, hey, they were more skilled or they had more or a higher level or degree of difficulty back then. But today, it's a more offensive game where you have to keep moving. The 3-second rule is in effect. There's no illegal defense in the way that it was. It's almost like we play positionless basketball now today. So everyone has to have their A game because it's all about scoring. You got to move the ball, you got to score. So in order to be a better scorer, that requires what? Skill, correct? So I would say that the players now are more skilled offensively, and the players before had more grit because they had to overcome more defensively in order to score. Hence why only a selective few had such high scoring averages, which is why a Barkley or a Jordan or a Karl Malone stood out amongst many. Whereas today you got players who are not even in that top tier or all-stars scoring 40 and 50 points out there on the floor. But it's just apples and oranges. But at the same time, it's what side of the scope of the lens you're looking at it from. There's difficulty on the offensive end now, whereas before it was more difficult on the defensive end. In order to win a game, you have to offensively outscore your opponent, which is why today the players may say, well, if you drop a Stephen Curry, somebody who is known for being super fast on the floor, who took advantage of the spacing on the floor and will shoot the lights out, or a team like the Golden State Warriors who made or revolutionized the game in this modern era as far as spacing. If you take a team like that and you drop them into the 90s where they have that super elite level of shooting to score from far, would the teams in the 90s and 80s be able to deal with a team that can beat them from the outside? Whereas back then they were dependent on guys coming into the interior and imposing their will and showing their presence that way. So it's just a matter of how you want to look at it. But in all, in my opinion, you got to appreciate both, because if they didn't walk in the 80s and 90s, we would not be able to fly today. And I think that players like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, who was in that 2000s era, right when the rules changed and came in and ushered in this new era, and the Kevin Durant's and those guys, I think those guys are underappreciated because they got remnants and, a taste of the previous era with more physicality, but ushered in a new era where they had to now adjust their games real time. Whereas you have the kids, or I don't like to use the word kids, but the guys coming out in the 2010s and the 2020s who've seen the adjustment of the game and patterned their game since AAU to fit the style of play right now. Well, those guys were doing it real time, which is a testament to their greatness. Mike never had to change his style of play. Actually, the rules were softened for Mike in his era because of the physicality that was going on. David Stern, the commissioner of the yesteryear, he definitely made sure to protect the prize media product that is the entity of Michael Jordan. So there's a lot of ways that you could look at it, but I think if you're a real fan of basketball, you'll appreciate it all. Let's check on the veggies. Check that chart out. Elite. So I'm gonna take these off and put it in the blender. All right, so now that the peppers are roasted and cooled off, we're gonna add that to the blender. First, we're gonna just add some fresh ginger washed. You can leave the skin on, I left it on. Then I'm gonna scoop that. Peppers, tomato, and onion mix. The smell is amazing from the grill. I know some people boil it, but the way I learned and was recommended, grill the vegetables first. It's gonna give it that extra smoky flavor that jollof rice is known for. So if you don't have a grill plate, invest in one. It's like $9.99. Lay your veggies out with the oil and the seasoning like I showed, and just roast it for about 30 minutes. It's juicy. All the fragrance is coming out of it. That seasoning that was on it is like electrified by 10 right now. So yeah, just a little advice. So I'm gonna add all of that to my blender to make my puree. And if you have more puree than needed, you can just store it and use it in the fridge. Leave it in the fridge, store it, and pull it out when you're trying to make another dish, or if you're making some extra. Right. To this, I'm just gonna add some chicken stock. Get it all acquainted. Cover it down. Get the blending. All right, once that's blended up, here's what it will look like. We're gonna add this when we're ready to cook the rice down. All right, so now we're gonna start the rice. You get the oil nice and hot. We're gonna add the red onions. Saute that. And you're gonna add your tomato paste, like a very rough taste, which is not what you're going for. So lower it down to like a medium fire and just saute the onions with that tomato paste for about 10 minutes. Keep stirring it. Add your chicken powder. Your curry powder. A little smoked paprika. Thyme, dried thyme leaves, not fresh thyme, dried thyme. Try to get it out this bottle. Dried thyme. Some cumin. I use a little ginger and garlic seasoning. And you keep stirring. Reduce this down. Now that that's reduced down, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna add that puree that we made. So gonna add some bay leaves and keep stirring. All right, so now that that's simmered down, now I'm gonna go in with my washed long grain parboiled rice, about 4 cups, depending on how much you're making or how many you're cooking for. You just mix it up. See, it's smoky already. Starting to smoke. At this point, now I'm gonna add some white pepper. And switch down to a low fire. Stir and blend all this in together. Where I add my water. When you add the water, just add enough to cover the mixture of the rice and the puree mix. You don't want to put too much water. And lower your fire and cover it down. Like I said, not too much, just enough to cover the mixture, but still give leeway for it to breathe in there and cook down properly. Add a little more. A little above the water. A little above the rice, rather. Perfect. Let's go down to a medium to low fire. Now you just cover it down with some foil to lock in the flavor and the smoke and the steam. You cover it with a tight lid rather. And you let that cook and steam down for about 20 to 25 minutes on a low fire. Take that chicken out. Yeah, it's good to go. And after about 45 minutes of smoking and steaming, there it is. Fluff your rice. It smells amazing. Some butter, some margarine, and some chopped onions. I'm gonna put a mix of salted butter and regular butter. Put some red onions. Give it a fluff mix. And you let that steam back down for another 10 minutes for all the flavors to marry each other. Let that rest, and we plate it up. And there you have it. Jerk chicken, smoky jollof rice, some plantains, and that jerk cream sauce. All right, food is done, so let's give it the taste test. Wow, that is a lot of flavor in that rice. The sweetness of the tomato, the smoky flavor, the spiciness. Wow. And the jerk chicken. Dip that in the creamer sauce. Chef kiss. Make sure y'all try this recipe. You will not be disappointed. Anybody can make it. Just follow exactly what I did. But with that being said, and to our conversation, understanding the evolution of the game. The game evolves each day and with each generational talent. Like we said, I think the three most important players of this generation are LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. LeBron James, because LeBron introduced positionless basketball, because not only was he a point forward that was 6'8", 6'9", and running the offense like a Magic Johnson, but he also had the power of a power forward and also the wing ability of a shooting guard. Then you have Kevin Durant, a 7-foot freak of nature who can handle the ball, shoot from outside, who's super efficient, who's not just pigeonholed into a 6'11", 7-foot basketball player that has to stay at the rim in the previous era. Then you have Steph Curry, who, after unlocking those new defensive rules and opening spacing on the floor, revolutionized the three-point basket. He didn't just become a great shooter, he's the greatest shooter. I mean, that guy can shoot from the other end of the court, half court, whatever it is. Steph will light you up, as we saw in the Olympics, as we saw on just about every stage that he's been on. So understanding how these three guys transform the game also is a testament to their longevity, because they are at the top of their game. Each of them is still averaging over 25 points, well past 35 into 40 in LeBron's case. So it's a testament to how the game shifts, the wear and tear that it puts on the body, because now we're seeing a whole bunch of soft tissue injuries in the league, where people are getting hurt more frequently because of all the movement, the constant up and down, the constant cuts, the constant cardio, whereas before they were a little more durable with less strain on the body, where, you know, guys would clog the paint, it would be man-to-man defense, it was just less switches and things going on of that sort. So it's just understanding and appreciating all levels of the game, all levels of scoring, because if we didn't have it the way it was in the previous era, we wouldn't be able to have the basketball that we see today. And the basketball that we see today wouldn't have any substance or flavor without watching, admiring, and studying the Reggie Millers and the Michael Jordans and the Isaiah Thomases and the Magic Johnsons of yesterday. So with that being said, the next time we're going to talk about the other influence in the NBA right now, which is the international influence, and understanding how those guys have a more fundamental approach to the game, but, you know, understanding that it's also changing the game. We're in the midst of another change right now, and we're going to see it come to fruition, because we're seeing teams now are being formed in a different structure. It's not just as simple as having a big three or two superstars. Depth is necessary, because fundamentals and ball movement is what's prioritized in this era, with the influence of our brothers over there in Europe and in Canada and Africa, all different walks of the world. We have players in the NBA, Asia, China. The game is being taught in so many different styles and so many different ways that it's evolving the game. So if I'm gonna just sit here and be mad and say, oh, this is not the 90s, this ain't like the 80s, this ain't like the 2000s, then do I really love basketball? Because you got to see something evolve. You got to see it grow. You got to see it go on to new heights. You got to see different things, different tricks, different moves, different ways of offense. And the rules have to change as we go. So we can't get mad about the way that this generation is playing if we really appreciate what the previous generation did. But that's all I have today. Like I said, I hope you guys try this recipe out. It's really tasty and really flavorful and spicy if you're into that kind of thing. But drop a comment down below. What do you think about the evolution of basketball? Also, and let me know. Come back to this video and let me know if you tried this recipe. Peace.